And just tell me whether my screen is.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
today,
ma'am.
all right, got it. So today, as of our roadmap, what we are having JWT authentication as well as role-based access. So what do you mean, people mean by role-based access? So when we talk about access, we talk that how many people have the permission to access something from the website, isn't it? Say for example, if you are creating a website, right? You are creating a website for your restaurant or any kind of your business. So for that, what do you want? You want to upload some kind of image of your food or your clothes, depending upon the website you are making. For that, the access to upload the images of your food or the cloth should be there with the admin only, isn't it? And what people have the access? People only have the access to use your website in order to place their orders, right? And they can't upload their own images. Say, for instance, they can upload their images in order to provide the review, but they can't provide the images where you want to showcase your own image as the product. So for that, we use role-based access control. So today we are working with the backend and all those things are handled by the backend. So today while working with the backend, we need some of our dependencies. Say for example, let's install our dependencies one by one. Go to the terminal and over here, write the command npm install express course.env, then mongoose, nodemon, course express.env, mongoose, nodemon. All right, that's it. We need this much of dependencies. Okay. So let's see. So in order to create a package.json file, at first we need to write npm init y. See, we got our package.json file. And over here, let me run this command again. See, inside the package.json file, this is the work that we want. Whichever dependencies that we will use in our code will showcase inside our package.json's dependencies. Got it? So this is the work that we have. And let's create our server.js. And now you will ask, ma'am, why do we create this file server.js? So this is the very important thing for our backend. So for that we use this server.js. This file is the very entry point of our backend code. So for that, how to create the server of our backend? For that, at first we need to import some of our dependencies. Example, for that I will write const express is equal to require, and inside require I will mention my dependencies, that is express. So this is how we import our dependencies in JavaScript. And there is uh, one more way in order to import our dependency. That is, we can also import our dependency using import keyword. And I'll tell you after writing the code that how to use that import keyword in order to import our dependency. And here we have imported our express. Then what we will do, we will import our const dependency as well. That's not a dependency. We will import our course dependency, and we will store it inside the variable course. Require and within this we will write course. After that, so we require the mongoose dependency in order to connect our node.js with our MongoDB. Got it? So we will import that as well. Const mongoose is equal to require mongoose. And then in order to use the express, we have to store this express in a variable. Const app is equal to express. And then we will write app dot use express dot json. This is written in order to get the data in a JSON format. And then we will also use app dot use course. And now you'll ask me, ma'am, why are we using course and what is the function of this? So, say for example, you are sending a request from your device to the server, and the server has certain access which it provides in order to provide the access of the website to different type of devices. So for that, CORS middleware is used. So CORS stands for Cross Origin Resource Sharing. So if you imagine computer A is sending a request to computer B. So over there, computer B, what we will do, what it will do, it will search the authorization header. Over there, if it provides the access to the computer which is sending the request using CORS, then only the client, which is the computer which is sending the request, will get the access to the contents present inside the server. So for that purpose, we use the CORS middleware. And after that, we will use app.listen, and inside that we will write our port number. Port number. So in order to access our port number, we also have to mention that. So for that, we will mention our port number is equal to, let's say the port number is 5000. After providing the port number as the parameter, I will mention an arrow function, which is basically a call. This is not a callback function. This is the arrow function only. So inside that, I will print console.log, and I will provide in console with server is running on port, and inside that I'll mention my port. So I'll save it, and then inside the terminal I will write node1 server.js. See, here we are getting server is running on port 5000. And then what we will do, we will go to our db.js. So inside our db.js, what do we have? Just a second. So inside our db.js, what did I tell you people in the previous class, that what is the basic difference between the former SQL as well as MongoDB? Who will say that? Please write it in the chat box. What basic difference did I tell you people about between MySQL and MongoDB?
MySQL is a relational database, whereas MongoDB is a non-relational database.
Yeah. So in order to store data in our MongoDB, what we need to do? We need to create our schema, right? So for that, we will create that schema inside this db.js. Not in this db.js, inside this user.js. So for that, what did I tell you people? We have to import the Mongoose dependency in order to connect our Node.js with the MongoDB. So for that, I will write const mongoose is equal to require mongoose. And now what I will do? I will create a variable that is user schema, inside which I will store my schema. Using new keyword, I will create a schema mongoose dot schema, and inside that I will provide the fields such as username, and the username will be the type of string, and this username has to be required. So for that I will provide the value true, and also it has to be unique. After the username, I'll ask the user for his email, which will also be a string and will have the same properties which is provided by the username. Same will be there for the password as well. And then I'll ask the user for his role, as we will deal with the role based access, right? For the role, we will provide type will be same string, and then the user will have only two options for the role, that is role will be, in order to provide only a couple of options, we use the enum function. Either the user can provide his role as user, or else he can provide the role as admin. Got it? And this role, you can also mention over here that, okay, you don't need to mention that. After the required is equal to true, suppose we will write this will be also of the type string. And finally, we can place it or we cannot place it as well. That is, we can provide the timestamp in our data, which will be true. And here, what another value can I provide is that I'll provide the default value of the role as user only. So if the user does not provide any of his role, then the DB will automatically take his role as the user. And finally, what we will do, we will export this entire schema. So for that, we will use module dot exports is equal to mongoose dot model, and here we will provide the keyword using which we can access this entire module in any other file, and then we will provide the function name, that is user schema. So this is how we create the um, entire schema for our MongoDB database. And similarly, if you are making any website, that is e-commerce website or anything, you can make different models for different components. Say for example, you can make model for the products which will have the cost of the product, the description of the product, etc., etc. Also, you can have the models for the customer, providing his name, email, user, etc. things. Right. So this is how we create the model in Mongoose. And now what we will do, we have to connect our MongoDB with our Node.js. So for that, we will write const mongoose is equal to require mongoose, and then I'll mention a function that is const connect db, and inside that I will provide a function which is an asynchronous function, and inside that I will mention a try catch block, and here I will write await mongoose dot connect, and then I'll provide my Mongo URI. Say for example, the Mongo URI is my confidential data, right? So in order to store all the confidential data, what do? We create a .env file in this root folder of the backend. I'll create a .env file where I will store my MongoDB. For that, I will write Mongo URI, and here what you people need to do is, do you people have got your Mongo URIs? Just reply with a yes or no, because you will be able to work. Okay, Rahul has it. Shubham. All right. So what you people have to do is create a .env file in the root folder and paste your entire Mongo URI over here. And then you can also provide your port number here as well. What is my port number? 5000, isn't it? So for that, I will write 5000. And how to access this .env file? So for that, what do we have to write? We have to write require .env .config. So this is how we access all the data which are present in our .env file. Let me paste my MongoDB data over here. Okay, Tejas and Herlin are not having their MongoDB URI. Tejas and Herlin, make it sure that you have your MongoDB URI by logging into the Mongo Atlas, because then only people will be able to work. Otherwise, you people will not be able to work with MongoDB. So I have provided my Mongo URI inside my .env file. And for using my Mongo URI, I will write mongoose.connect, right, process dot env dot mongo URI. This is the parameter, and then we'll provide two main keywords, that is use new URL parser which has to be true, and then I'll provide use new use unified topology which is also has to be true. And then if it gets connected, then we will provide console.log MongoDB connected. And if any error occurs over there, we will write console.log error.message. And then we have to export this function as well. So for that, we will write module.exports is equal to connectdb. And then we will save it. Okay, here this will be comma. Let's save it. And then we will go to our auth middleware.js. Over there, we will write const jwt is equal to require JSON web token. And then we will mention a variable that is authenticate jwt, which will have, this is basically an arrow function which will have three parameters, that is request, then response, as well as next. Inside that, we will write const token is equal to request dot header. Request dot header, and inside that we will have authorization. And while testing this API in Postman, I will tell you why did we write authorization over here. And then if not token, return res.status 403 with the JSON message access denied. So what will happen when the user will provide the token over there? If the user is only the user, then it will provide and he will try to access all those functionalities which are only accessed by the admin only. There it will provide the access is denied for the user. And then we will mention a try catch block. And inside the try catch block, I'll mention a variable const decoded is equal to JWT dot, I'll mention a verify function, and this verify function is the function of the JSON web token. And inside that, what functionality we will do? We will take the token and then split it. And here we will mention 1. So let me tell you why are we mentioning this. So for that, let me tell you that JWT token has two things inside that. First is the bearer keyword and then the token which is generated. So bearer and the keyword get stored in the form of an array, right? And what is the index value of the very first element of an array? Who will tell me?
0.
Yeah, 0, right? So in the very first index, bearer gets stored, and in the second index, the token gets stored. So in order to access the token, we at first split the token into bearer as well as token, and then we take the very not the very first, the second element of the array, that is the token. That is the purpose, which is why we are writing 1 over here. And in order to access the token, we need one more thing, that is our JWT secret. So for that, we will write process dot env dot JWT secret. And tell me, if I'm writing this process dot env dot JWT secret, where am I supposed to store my JWT secret?
.env file.
Exactly, inside this .env file. So for here, I will store JWT secret, which can be anything. That is, this is my JWT secret. So I'll go back to my auth middleware.js. Yeah. So here I have accessed my JWT secret, and then I'll write request dot user is equal to decoded. And then I'll provide next. Inside the catch block, if any error occurs, we will return a response with status code 401 with a JSON message invalid token. And then finally, we will provide another function. This is our authenticate JWT. It is checking if the token that has got generated after the registration process is correct or not. And then we will have another function that is authorize role. So for that we will write const authorize role. We will take the role of the user that we mentioned in our schema, that is user.js. Then we will write request from our response. Then we will write next. If request dot user dot role not equal to role. So what this condition basically checks is that it will take a request from the user about his role. And if the role does not match the provided role, then return what it will return. It will return with a status rest.status 403 with JSON. Message will be unauthorized. And then we will write next. So this is how our authorized role is working. It is checking whether the role of the user is not does not match to the already present role in the MongoDB. And finally, we will export both the function using module.exports is equal to authenticate JWT and then authorize role. And then we will go to our auth.js. Not inside the auth.js particularly. We will go to our protected.js. Yeah, go to the auth.js where we will provide the routes for our login as well as registration. For that, we will write const express is equal to require express. Then we will require const bcrypt we will also require our JWT dependency. And then what we have to do in we are dealing with our data, right? So where is the data stored? Our data is stored inside this user.js. So for that, I will use const user is equal to require I'm having that inside my models. And inside the model, I'll require my user. And in order to provide the routing, I will use one middleware of Express, that is router, that is express dot router. And now I will make a post request. Why am I making a post request? Because I want my user to register his name, password, and each and everything that is mentioned in my Mongo schema. So for that, I will write router dot post, and the API will be register endpoint. This is the API endpoint, followed by an asynchronous function, which will have request as well as response as the parameters. And then I will ask the user for his username, email, password, as well as the role. So for that, I'll create variables const username, email, password, and then role. And from where it will take all these values? It will take these values from the body. And I'll here begin a try catch block. Inside this, what this will do, it will hash the password provided by the user. So for that, I will use const hashed password is equal to, and see, we have provided here the bcrypt, right? So in order to hash the password, we will provide, in order to hash the password, we will require the bcrypt dependency, and we will use it using await bcrypt. One of its functions is hash function. So using that function, we will provide the password as the first parameter, and then I will provide the value 10. So what is this value 10? So this value 10 is known as the salt value. You can either write it as in this way, and then you can also write it as const salt is equal to bcrypt dot gensalt, and inside this gensalt you can mention the value 10, and here you can write salt only. Got it? So there are a couple of ways in order to hash our password. And then what I will do, I will make another variable user is equal to, now the user will get in my MongoDB. So for that, a new user is being created, right? So for that, we will write a new keyword, and then we will write user, which is taken from the models, right? Having values username, and then email, password. And inside my MongoDB, I don't want the exact password provided by the user to get saved. Instead, what I want the hashed password to be saved in my MongoDB is equal to hashed password. And then the role of the user. And then finally, I will save this data. So for that, I will write await user dot save. So this save function is used to save the data provided by the user. And then when it gets successfully registered, I'll respond with the status code 500. with a JSON message, user registered successful. Not 500, I will provide only the message. JSON, user registered successfully. And then if any error occurs, so in order to handle that error, what I will write? I will write res.status 500 with a JSON message, error registering the user. So this is how my register API endpoint will work. After registering the user will log in as well, right? So for that, we have to use another API, that is router.host, and then the API endpoint will be logged in. And then we will pass another asynchronous request, which will have. So what are the two basic things that the user need to provide in a website to make login?
Username and password.
Or you can also say email as well as password. And this will, it will take from the body. And then I will create a try catch block, and then it will check whether this user exists inside the database or not. So for that, I will write const user is equal to await user dot find one, and then I will pass the value of the email in order to check whether the email of this user exists inside my database. And if not user or not await bcrypt dot compare. So this compare function is also a function of the bcrypt dependency. And here we will provide a couple of parameters, that is password and then user dot password. So this is the password that is provided by the user when it is logging in, and this one is the password which is already stored inside our database. So what it is doing, it is comparing the email as well as the password, that is the credentials that you require in order to log in inside the website. So both of these does not match with each other. Then what it will do, it will return res.status 401, providing a JSON message, invalid credential. and then it will write, we will give const token is equal to JWT dot sign ID will be user dot underscore ID, comma role will be user dot role. Also, it will require process dot env dot jwt secret, comma. Here we will provide expires in, and we will provide the expiry time of our token. Let's say I'm providing 1 hour. And if you do not want the token to get expired, so for that, what you have to write, you have to provide a keyword that is ignore expiration. If you do not want your token to get expired, right? So how many parameters do we have inside this sign function? We are having the ID, role of the user, and then the JWT secret, and then the expiration time of our token. And then if the user provides his credentials in a proper way, what it will do? It will provide JSON. It will provide the token. Okay, it will not be there inside this. And then inside the catch block, if any error occurs, it will provide with the status 500 with the JSON message error logging in. And then error will be error dot message. And here finally we will export our router. And now we will finally move to our protected.js. So over here, what we are going to do, we will require our express is equal to require express, and then I will also import the authenticate JWT and authorize role from the auth middleware file. And then I will also mention the router is equal to express dot router. After that, we'll write router dot get admin. So this is the endpoint of our admin role. And then we will also provide authenticate JWT and then authorize role. And this will have admin as the parameter. And then I will write request, response. This arrow function will have a response. It will respond the user with a JSON message. Message will be welcome admin. So this is very clear, right? If the API endpoint is admin and it is also it is also authenticating the token, and then it is authorizing the role as admin, then it will provide the message as welcome admin. And then if the user logs in, router.get user, here I will provide request, response, and then it will print res.json with a message welcome user. And finally, over here, what we will do, we will export our entire function. Module dot exports is equal to router. I'll save it and let's save all these files. And now coming on to our server.js. As I've told you people that this is the main entry point of our entire backend structure. So for that, we need to have all our files that we have created in our backend present inside our server.js. So for that, I have already provided require.env.config in order to access the data env dot port, and if the port number is not provided, then take it as 5000. 5000? Yeah, it is 5000. And then what I will do, I'll remove mongoose from here. Instead, I will write const connectdb is equal to require. Inside the config, there lies my db.js. See here, we have mentioned the connectdb function, right? So from there, we will require that, and then const auth routes is equal to require protected, or it is auth routes. So for auth routes, we will get the auth, and then for the protected route, const protected routes will require protected. After that, what I will do, I will mention the connectdb function in order to connect the mongoose with my node.js, and then I will specify my routes. app dot use API, and then auth, and this will be my endpoint for my auth routes, that is server, that is login as well as register, and then app dot use, and then my endpoint will be API, and then protected. And this will be the API for my protected route, which is basically having the role based access. Now we will save it. So today the time has already come to the end, that is, it is already 9. So we will see the output of this code tomorrow. Are you people okay with it? Or you can test this API endpoint using Postman as well, those who are able to do it. Ma'am, how do I grant few operations based on roles? I didn't get your point, Vamshi. Okay, you want the functions that are based on the roles, right? Which can provide the access to the admin only. Say for example, if you are making an e-commerce website, so what possible functions can you provide only to the admin? You can see how many users have logged in your website, or what are the total orders that you have received in this month. So those things can be viewed by the admin only, right? So these all functions you can manage in the role based access. You getting my point, Vamsi? Vamsi, are you getting my point? Yes, ma'am. The logic or approach for it. Logic. What logic? See, we have different functions for our different JavaScript functions in order to place in our CRUD operations in the while making our any kind of website, right? So the basic thing that we perform in our websites are CRUD operations. That we create something, or we read something, or we update or delete something. So, like I have done over here, in order to find whether the user exists in the inside the database, which function did I use? I used the find one function, isn't it? Where has it gone? See, I have used find one. So this is how we use different functions of JavaScript in order to perform our CRUD operations. So that's how you have to. But what about the front end? We will learn front end very soon, Harshit. So any doubts still which I have made you people? I have taught you people.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So if there are no any doubts, you people can leave the meeting. And mind, you people are not asking me any kind of doubt, so that directly means that you people are not having any doubt. And when during the project evaluation, if I'll ask you the doubts, you have to answer me. Harshit, we'll run this program tomorrow, and we will test our APIs tomorrow only. Okay. Bye bye, all of you.